First was non-violence. We talked about earlier that non-violence is only a method, but the ultimate goal is to reach to the soul. Mahavir's all the efforts are directed towards making you aware of your soul. We've been looking everywhere else but onto our soul. So non-violence, he went into the details. We went over several lectures. And the next step he has been talking about is Sanyam. So dharma in any form, if it cannot bring a change in your life, it's useless. I'm talking about the real internal change. External changes, there are a lot of dharmas available. Bars and nightclubs and a lot of things, but that changes you from outside. Only when you can change yourself from within, that's your proof. How much anger you had before, and now did you get rid of your anger or not? How much greed you had before, did you get rid of your greed? Do you have peace in your life? Are you happy? All those are parameters that are positively brought in your life by dharma. So dharma is something that is a positive force to be recognized. And this positive force is something that is coming from within. Like we said earlier, urja. Urja is udbhav. It's something that is coming from within. So we have to search for that urja which is within, and that urja is built into our soul. So until we explore within, we are not going to reach to the dharma, and we are not going to understand the utility of dharma. Dharma is your own. Dharma is you. And until you utilize your own dharma, nothing can happen. No matter how much your external connections or external achievements, external whatever you have gathered in your life, if that's not going to change your internal, then what is the point? So internal change obviously is more important than external. You may run all your life, but you may find out that ultimately all the activities that you've been doing so far, it brought you to the point that you find the futility in that. The examples are all over. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, 99% giving it away. Bill Gates giving it up. Warren Buffett giving it up. Theoretically, if money was making you happy, then they should be the happiest people on the face of the earth. But they found that there is something beyond that can make you happier. The real happiness that is within your Atma is something that has no opposite. The happiness that you can achieve by achieving the objects outside, there will be an opposite. There will be a frustration, there will be a suffering, there will be a pain. Eventually come to the point that even if it does not bring you suffering of one kind, you get bored. You get bored handling billions of dollars. And believe me, that has happened to a lot of people.
And the fear.
And the fear, everything. So the problem is looking into the dharma, we always have looked at it in a negative way. The differences between people about dharma even can happen only because they have not known the positive force. The discussions and the fights and arguments are always possible when you don't know the dharma itself. Once you reach to the dharma state, and if the opposite person has reached to the dharma state, there cannot be any conflict because there is only one dharma. And that dharma is within us. So non-violence was one of the ways, and Mahavir said non-violence, ahimsa, is the soul of his preachings. And the bridge between the actions that you have outside and what is your internal soul of non-violence is this Sanyam. So right now we're talking on the Sanyam. Sanyam is, we talked about earlier, if you ask people what is Sanyam, they say controlling your senses. When you feel like eating, don't eat. When you feel like going into the exacerbations of your all the senses, the hearing and the touch and the smell, when all your five senses are roaming wild to achieve things, acquire things from the world, you control them. But that always has been a traditional definition of Sanyam. But that's not true. That's a negative definition. A dharma being a positive, you cannot have a negative definition of a method, a negative method to reach to dharma. Dharma is something, once you understand, it's a positive force. So Sanyam, we talked about, it's not like owning a dog and putting a leash on the dog so that the dog does not run away. It's not like that your charioteer and you are sitting on a chariot and your 10 horses, this is how I had learned from Gita, that 10 horses that Arjun is carrying, it's all symbolic, right? 5 horses supposed to represent your 5 senses, and the other 5 horses are supposed to represent your organs of actions, your 2 arms, 2 legs, your speech, and 2 holes, through which we act in the world. So all those 10 horses need to be controlled. And then the chariot can go in a straight line. Even if one horse decides to go off the line, everybody says, okay, I'm good, but I have only one vice. I like to drink. No problem. But that one vice can take you. If one horse wants to eat the pasture and sees the grass on the side of the road, the whole chariot has to go with it. So don't think that even one sense can be off normal. But the whole concept of controlling those horses with the leash, with the reins, is a false concept. Mahavir says that when the senses start listening to you, that's when you have the control. When you remove the leash from the dog and the dog does not go anywhere, you are controlling the dog. You are afraid that your dog will run away. That's why you have put the leash on. So the dog is controlling you by its own behavior. It can run anywhere. As soon as you remove the leash, it will disappear. So when you take the leash off and still the dog does not go anywhere, that's when you call yourself a master. So the same way, if you can start recognizing your soul and how much power the soul has, if your soul, the Mahavir calls Atma as a person who is in a samadhi state, or person who is totally Sanyami state, is the one who has realized the full potential of Atma. He calls him Atmavan. When the Atma becomes so bright and so powerful and so positive, full of vitality, totally engrossed in itself, that it sees no need to get anything from this world. Whatever comes, it comes. Whatever goes, it goes. But there is no extra desires. And when the desires are controlled, the senses don't have any way to go anywhere. Whatever is brought in from the world by the senses, if that is considered meaningless by the soul itself, the soul has become powerful. So Mahavir is saying, go within, find your own soul, and find the strength of the soul. Make it more powerful. Not just communicate with your soul, but realize the existence of it. Realize the infinite nature of it. Realize the potential of it. Then the senses basically walk around, and whenever the soul wants the senses to work, it will give a command whenever the soul feels like. Right now, most of the people live the lives of the senses. The senses are Indriyas, right? So these are considered the lesser gods. Mind is the Indra. Indra controls those senses. Indra is the hot center where all the information is brought in. Eye cannot really see. It can see, but it cannot know what it saw. Ears can only hear, only transmit the sound, but the mind ultimately is the one that actually hears. It actually makes the difference, delineates what it heard, what it did not hear, what it likes, what it does not. So mind is considered the center. So mind is the Indra. But that's where we get lost, and that's where we are. So we are at the mind and the body level. Only through the sadhana, only through the meditation, when you start observing your mind itself. See, the simple process of observation, you have to understand. Observation is possible only between two unequal things. Meaning, I always show it to my patients. I say, look at this pen, right? You can see the pen. Can pen see you? No. You can see the pen. You can make out the difference. What color is it? What size? What is the utility of? So obviously you're smarter than the pen. Fine. That's easy to understand. But when you look at your own body, body is inert. Body is made out of matter. It has no intelligence of its own. Body cannot see the mind. Body cannot see any further. So the mind is the one that is observing the body. So the mind becomes smarter than the body. But then the mind has been a problem because mind has been proven too smart for us. It takes us everywhere. It takes us all down the roads, down the ditches. It takes us to the glory. You can be an Einstein or you can be in the gutter drinking, whatever. So the mind has a lot of power. Between the mind and the body, only the mind is what we know. And that's why we're utilizing the mind. But the power of observation, the rule of observation does not fail. When you can observe your mind, the mind starts becoming inferior. That's why people always ask me, yes, we know how to do it, that these things are wrong, but we cannot do it. I like to eat, but I cannot stop eating. The mind keeps on telling me. So the more powerful entity is needed in your life to tell the mind what to do, when to do, and where to go, and what to do, what not to do. The mind has to start listening to you. So for the first time in meditation, you back off and you realize the potential of the power of the soul. So the soul is something that should be the whole and soul control of your life. Your life should be controlled by the Krishna consciousness. And that's what we are. We are the product of Krishna. And Krishna is not the male figure that we've been worshipping, is the Krishna consciousness. The consciousness is the most potential, most powerful capacity that we have, because all through these levels of observation, whether you're observing a pen or you're observing a body or you're observing your mind, there is one thing that is common, is the awareness. So your awareness, which is coming from way beyond your mind, then only you can observe the mind. Then only you can be aware of the mind. So awareness is your gift. It's your silk thread through which you can travel. Just follow the awareness and it takes you further up. So awareness is the chit function of the Sat, Chit and Anand. So ultimately you put the consciousness, your own awareness in control of your life, you cannot go wrong. Then whatever action follows will be the actions of the consciousness, not at your mind level. I like this, I don't like this, I hate her, I don't hate her, I don't like. All these likes and dislikes and beliefs and thoughts and all these are products of the mind. As long as we are bound by those things, we are living at the inferior life. We need to live a spiritual life. Until that point, we've been living material life, because mind and the body are material. Even though you cannot see the mind is material, because that's all it thinks of. Mind is all evolving around the matter. As soon as you see an object, the shape and the size and color of the object is fed into the mind decides likes. Mind is all material. So the first time when you start backing off away from the mind, you have spiritual journey. But the same way like we did the yoga, you don't want to just fall back. That's blind faith. That's what people do. Oh, go to the temple, bow down to the Krishna, and things are just going to be happening. Then you're falling back into the spiritual life for no reason. You need to analyze. That's the path of knowledge. That's the path of observation. That's the path of analysis. That's what the meditation is about. You analyze your actions and you see the fruits of the actions. What actually happened? I had a patient yesterday, and the guy came in with tremendous sense of anxiety, and he was so anxious that his pressure would be high, and he had a rapid heartbeats and things like that, could not concentrate. He's an IT guy. He's a whole and soul breadwinner of the whole family. The family is worried and all that. At that point, I had no choice, but I did spend a lot of time with him, right? I gave him some clonazepam. I gave him some 15. But he came in yesterday. He says, Doc, that was wonderful. I said, what? Clonazepam? He said, no. What you talked about. Now I observe. Every time I have a stress, I observe. Why am I stressing out? As soon as I observe, the stress disappears. Because now, with the observation, the sense of power is in your hands. Now you can analyze that this is stupidity. He already ended up with the ER so many times. Now, for the first time, he says, now I have a tool that calms me down. I still have a long way to go. Now he started listening to my lectures. He says, I take down all the notes and everything, whatever he's saying. And now I go through all the points and I try to analyze and all those things. So power of observation is what we really need. So we don't want to fall backward blindly. You analyze yourself what makes sense. Then only your soul will start becoming powerful. So Mahavir's meaning of Sanyam is to know the full potential of the self. And knowing is not enough, believe me. In Samadhi state, you can reach to a thoughtless state. But that's not enough. Now you have to put that into action. Then you have to start analyzing what makes sense, what it doesn't. What are your deficiencies? There are a lot of fixing to do within rather than go and telling somebody else what to do. We only know our gluteals and we only know our chords. We have to know our deficiencies, what we are doing right and what we are doing wrong. So internally, we have to analyze the deficiencies of the mind, where the mind is running. Are we running towards the food? The problem is, the Sanyam is a state which is what Mahavir calls Samyak. Samyak Drashti is where you are not affected by the outside world at all. Because normal tendency is to run. As soon as we like something, we run. We like this food, we run. We hate this food, we run away. We always making selections based on our likes and dislikes. But we're not realizing that any running around is the running around of the mind, not of the soul. Soul is pristine. Soul does not have a tendency to run anywhere. You know why? Because soul cannot go anywhere. You know why? Because soul is infinite. It's everywhere. Where is it gonna go? We may have another world to think of, but soul is infinite. It's everywhere. So there is no motion at the soul level. So the more steadier you becoming, more closer to the soul you're going, and more sanyami you're becoming. So Sanyam is not controlling your senses. Sanyam is the realization of your potential, of full potential of your soul. So you are so steady, so no running around happens. Like we said earlier, that is the same thing as a sthita prajna state that Krishna was recommending for everyone. So Sanyam, there is really no word that you can compare into the English. There is no word that you can describe. So that's why all these definitions are necessary to control this, control this. But in reality, you're not really controlling. You're not falling backwards. You're bringing yourself down gradually. So that's what, so a lot of words cannot be described. A lot of actions cannot be described. So that's why Mahavir, when he fasted, everybody said, oh, fasting is the way to reach nirvana. Mahavir was knowing that his soul is so self-sufficient, there is no need to eat. No need to eat until the body is hungry. He ate only 365 days in 12 years. On an average, he ate once every 12 days because that's all he thought was necessary. But not vice versa, that fasting is going to make you go to nirvana. So Sanyam, the only word that can come close to Sanyam, which you cannot even say anything else about it, is the tranquility. The tranquility is the steadiness that you feel within, where not even a little bit of vibration is happening. That is your inner state of your soul. In a tranquil state, now you can analyze your actions, because all your actions are running around. All your actions are to achieve something. You are here, you want to achieve something, so your mind starts running in this direction. First, mind wants food. Mind wants to enjoy the pleasures, so it runs in that direction. All of a sudden you realize that, oh, I gained too much weight, so now I want to fast. I want to do a taste. Now I want to do 8 days, 16 days of fasting. So I'm going to wipe off all these things. Either way, you are running. It's like a rubber band. A rubber band should be steady. You go in that direction, it gets stretched. Every time you're doing excess on eating, inside your mind is telling you that you're doing something wrong. The guilt feeling is building up. If you did a little bit of excess, you have a little bit of guilt. You have more excess, you have more guilt. You have very much excess, you have a lot of guilt. Now that guilt is bringing you in the opposite direction. And now you're going this way, that way, that way. Now you did 18, 16 days of fastings, and then now all of a sudden says, now I'm in control, I can do whatever I want. As soon as the attai is over, everybody starts enjoying the food back to normal. So the running itself is a sanyami. Sanyam is where you are in total control, because you are the soul. There is no control of the mind. Somebody says, oh, he has a good discipline, he has a good control on the mind. Real control is where you realize the full potential. Your Atma is running so bright, is so much aware, is so much powerful that senses have no value. But in the asanyami mind, you have no control. You don't know your soul at all. So when you're trying to control the mind, means mind itself is lack of control. Mind itself is a disease. So you cannot say that my mind is healthy. Mind itself is not healthy. Mind means you're running around. You have to do this, you have to do this. We're always looking for things to do, to achieve this, not achieve this, run away, all these things. So Sanyam is where you are in total control of your soul. Asanyam means wavering mind. Asanyam means you have to do something to achieve the results. So all journeys ultimately lead into vasanas, and vasanas ultimately lead you into emptiness. You may achieve lot of excess eating, but then you realize that after all, what? You may acquire a lot of money, but then what? You may have so many cars running around, but then what? There's always something after that. But once you reach to the soul level, there is nothing after that, because there is nothing after that. You reach to the full sense of satisfaction. When you are so satisfied, what else do you have to do in life? Your deeds, your actions are over. You don't have to fast. You don't have to overeat either. So the running itself is a problem. And that running is, Mahavir is saying, stay steady in the middle. You don't go anywhere. So that samyakta, and Mahavir says that samyakta should be not just in eating, but in your daily behavior. How much you sleep, how much you eat, how much you talk, how much all the samyak vani, samyak vichar, how much you want to think about a lot of things. So once you reach the samyak state, you realize the futility of thoughts even. Some people cannot shut off the thoughts. I have one patient, he has a liquor store. He says, I can't stop thinking. I met some kaka 15 years ago, elderly guy. For 5 minutes, his mind keeps on thinking about him. For no reason. I don't know.
That we do anyway, right?
Don't have to.
No, but that's a normal
You don't have to.
it's
When
not that
you
you have to or not. It's just your mind always thinking.
exactly, but that's the problem. Mind is the disease.
But everybody mind is like that, right?
Exactly, and that's why there are very few Buddhas.
Okay.
Everybody's mind is like that.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. So not thinking what you don't need to think, just the way not eating what you don't need to eat, also requires the total control of your soul. So it's tough. It's tougher than you think. And it gets more tougher as you deal with the, like, physical food is one thing, but thinking is very subtle. How do you control your thoughts? But that's the way it is. That's the way to reach your thoughtless state. Mahavir says you have to be samyak thinker also. Think what you need to think. Mind is your servant. Utilize it, because you are the master. You are the consciousness. You are the powerful. You are the immortal. Body can die. Mind can die. You cannot die. You are never born. So how could you die? That's your belief. That's your realization that you are the soul. You don't need to think. You will utilize your mind to think what you need to think. It's a disease. Compulsive thinking disorder. That's a depression. that you cannot stop. Ladies are more prone to that. Oh, somebody told me something 15 years ago. I cannot get rid of.
Forget, yeah.
Next time when I see her, I'm gonna take her even. You may not even see her for whole life. That girl will die thinking about that person rest of her life. Men are a little easier because we have to keep changing and we keep ourselves busy and all. But we have different disease. We have an ego problem. Then oh, I own this and I own that, and females laugh at us like, look at this guy. You know what's that?
Yeah, you gotta do the house for you're busier than men.
So everybody has a problem. Man as being a male is a problem too, because we have we acquire things, we hoard things, and we take pride in our achievements and things like that. And females laugh at us. Look at this. Meanwhile, they have not done anything. They are enjoying everything anyway. He says, "Look at the stupid guy." You know? So both have problems. So ultimately, when the maleness and the femaleness both are diseases, but they are naturally gifted to us. So we have to understand this is the play of the nature. These are the identification we have to live with. Extra identification is another thing. I just dictated the audio this morning that in the samadhi state you realize that your ego has no value. If you take your picture at a baby picture, maybe one thing, but if there was a way of taking a picture when your first cell was born, right? You take a picture of the first cell, you can tell between your cell or a fish cell or even embryos. The show that we had seen on the nature about what Charles Darwin could not know, they compared the embryos of a rat, of a cat, a fish, and a human being. You can tell. They all look the same. So forget about one cell. If you take a picture, what is that? That's you. That's you. That was you. So how fake is the ego? And we continuously are changing. And yet we hold on to the ego, which is totally illusory. So the ego is a male dominant function, that I am this and I am that. And females are emotions oriented. And they have their problems too, because emotions, they drive them. So both should be controlled. So when the combination happens, then the tranquility comes in life. So our mind creates a lot of beliefs and ideas and opinions, and whatever opinions and ideas you came in with, you're gonna live with a different set of ideas. Mind continuously changes also. So how much can we rely on the mind? But that's all we do. We rely on the mind all the time. We go extremes. We say, okay, I want to have a lot of friends. So you actively go and make friends. Mahavir says that I have no enmity for the whole world. Buddha says the whole world, whole universe is my friend. What is the difference? We want to make friends because we have common grounds. We want to make friends because we want to hang out, do the same thing that we all want to do. Anybody who does not want to drink cannot be part of me because I love to drink. I love to eat. All the things, we find the commonality between me and somebody else, so then he can be a friend. Oh, he's a boring guy. I don't want to. So we're always gonna choose because we are operating at the mind level. The friends that we call friends are different than the friends of Mahavir. Mahavir has no enmity left. His mind is gone. Mind that could create the differences. Mind itself divides the world. It chooses good, bad, superior, inferior, tall, short, white, black, red, yellow. All these are differentiations happening at the mind level. Mind likes to divide everything. Anybody who operates at the mind level cannot be a winner. Because whoever you select and whoever you neglect, the selector is also your mind and neglector is also your mind. You're fighting one part of your mind with another part of your mind. So Mahavir says you don't have to look for fancy foods. You don't have to go for any diets. You just know the play of the mind, how the mind is operating. Then you are right there. The peace that we feel within is very unique. If you have a lot of noise happening, say kids visiting, running all over, then there is so much noise going on. Kids go away. I have a lot of elderly people. They say, well, holidays come and oh, my grandchildren are going to be here. I said, wow, that's exciting. Are you kidding me? I can't stand them. They run all over. They ruin my carpet. They do this. They do that. And, and when they leave, now I'm back to my own self. That's a relative peace. That's not the peace we should be after. The peace of samadhi is a unique peace. There is no opposite. Because there is no opposite of God. God is God. That's unique. So when you experience samadhi, the tranquility that I'm talking about is unique. It's always there. It cannot be broken unless you bring the mind into action. When the mind comes, the samadhi breaks. It's either the world or the God. You cannot have both. The world comes, then your samadhi breaks. You get into samadhi, the world disappears. So one or the other. So Zen fakirs say the same thing, that Zen state or the Samyak state is when there is no mind. Kabir calls it Amani state, Amani avastha, that there is no mind. Mind is the cause of suffering. It's a seat of violence, it's a seat of anxiety, it's a seat of insecurity, it's a seat of all the sufferings, mad, moh, krodh, maya. These are all Jains called what they call the klesha. Now the kleshas is the Patanjali, they call kleshas, but all the sufferings are the kasais. Kasais is the word the Jains use for mad, moh, krodh and maya. So when you can defeat, those are the enemies for you. And when you can defeat those things, that's when you reach into, there is only one solution for all these things, is to reach to the samadhi state. So the problem that happens when you go into the samadhi state, your mind starts dropping. And so far, we had set up connections only with the mind. We knew only the mind, and we knew only the body. So the fear comes in, is because almost your existence is falling apart right in front of you. All the beliefs that you had were all centered around your mind. My car, my wife, my husband, my money, my this, my that. When the mind starts dying, it's a very fearful experience if you are not ready for it. I have that Thai patient. He has a Thai restaurant, and he gave me a book on Buddhism. His Buddhist monk had given it to him, had written it. It was good. It was a lot of circling around. You could tell they don't have the clarity in your thoughts. So I said, put this away. Songpon is this name. I told him, I said, just do this. So he started doing it. Very religious guy, So he said, I'm going to do it. After 3 weeks, he says, Doc, I can't do it anymore. I said, why? What happened? I thought I was going to die. I said, that's just the feeling. You don't die because you were not prepared to get rid of your mind. That's why it happened. Oh. So I said, go further. Don't stop. So then, after a few weeks, he came in and said, Doc, that's beautiful. That experience was amazing. So you have to be ready to let go something. You have to be ready to let go your quads. You strengthen your gluteal muscles. Then you can go backwards. So it's a very active involvement. Meditation is not a relaxing technique that you can just sit and snore either. There has to be an active, there is a lot of activity involved. There is a lot of observation required. There is a lot of awareness required. Then only you know what you're dumping and what you're getting into. It's not just say, okay, it's going to happen automatically. Mahavir's whole philosophy was to break away from Hinduism. Because in Hinduism, they say just bow down to the God and things will just happen. Mahavir says, no, you have to be. That's why his followers were called Shramans. Shram is the actually exertion that you have to do. A positive approach you have to do to reach the positive results. So Samyak state of Mahavir is there is no running, there are no goals, there are no desires, and there are no regrets. So there is no past, there is no future, and there is no, without past or the future. Whatever happened in the past, there is no regrets because to have a regret, your mind has to come into action. Because mind has to think, oh my God, I did this. Why did I do this? Why didn't I do this? Typical feminine thinking, right? Why did I do this? Future is male oriented. I want to do this. I want to do that. So there are no goals. Mahavir says there are no goals. There are no regrets. No positivity towards the future. No belief in the future. So when the past disappears, that's your feminine tendency. When your future disappears, that's your male tendency. You stay in the middle. And when you stay in the middle, when there is no past and there is no future, what is the present? Present is nothing without past or future, right?
Present is a gift.
Present is a gift. There is nothing there. And then you enter the state of shunyata. That is the further going back from the samadhi. Because at the samadhi level, you might say that, okay, I'm in a samadhi, my thoughts are wavering around here and there, but they're still there, right? When the thoughts are still there, you are only in a samadhi, but you're not in the shunya state. Shunya state is further back, where there is nothing there. The present and the past and the future are all created by the time-space complex, right? These are the 4 dimensions. But now you are in a 5th dimension. It's totally different that you had never experienced. We live the life of 4 dimensions: height, width, depth, 3 dimension, and the time. That factors in because everything keeps on changing. Einstein gave the glimpse of 4 dimensions. But the 4 dimensions are the material. You have created, you are using the matter to create the 4 dimensions. That's the only way I can know your shape or size or color and everything. And then I can also tag the time to it, that at 12 o'clock I was here, 12:05 I was not. So all the experiences are within the four dimensions. But when you start observing your mind, your dimensions are left behind. Got it? So time is nothing but memory of the mind. Because every frame, if you put it, that you see and you experience, you put it as a frame on a hard drive in the mind, right? So now you have a hard drive tells me that at 12 o'clock I was here. 12:30, if I want to remember that what I was doing at 12, I'll have to pull out that frame from my mind. So mind creates the time. There is no real existence. And Einstein even says that time and space are interchangeable. Time and space are warped. They have a shape. Time has a shape. Time has a fixed shape that you can bend. Everything is bent. Because our time is done by the sun. Our rotations around the sun. But sun itself is curving around. So sun is taking us all around thinking that we are synchronized with the time. But sun itself is moving. It takes some 20 million years to go around in a galaxy that our Milky Way is around the center. So time is a relative thing. Time exists only for human beings. Does the dog know what its birthday was? He doesn't care because he doesn't have mind that is developed. So when you transcend the mind, you are transcending the time. And when you transcend the time, you're transcending the past. Because what is past? Just recreation in the time frame. The same thing for the future. So when you get rid of the mind, you become immortal. So death is not to you. Death is to the body, and death is to the mind. That's the beauty. It makes you fearless. Whatever happens, it happens. It is not a... So that's where all the realization happens of the whole consciousness, how the whole thing has been set up, how the tiny cells become you, and how you become ash, and then merge into something else. The whole vast, where is I? Where is Deepu? Where is I? Where is me? There is no I, there is no me. It's the total consciousness playing this beautiful game that we are just part of. And yet we want to change the world. It's like a big painting that is like painted by the big consciousness, and then a tiny boat says, no, I don't like this color. Or tiny dog that's in the painting, oh, I want to change this. Or tiny human being sitting with a tiny head and tiny legs want to change the whole universe. We are nothing. So when that realization happens, you reach to a shunya state, that you are part of it now. You are lucky you are part of it. and we can be part of it at the samyak state. So Sanyam is ability to reach to the samyak state. And then the beautiful things follow after that. We'll talk about it later. All right? So much for today.
Thank you.